Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Charlton Water Sewer Commission meeting of May 7th, 2018. It's now 6:31. I'm going to skip right down to number 3. We're going to go to consent agenda of warrants, abatements, approvals as needed. So first of all, we'll start with these minutes that need to be approved. The first group, we're looking at April 23rd, 2018. And I guess, Jen and Paul, have you had a chance to look at these?
I have.
I did.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion for their approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 23rd, 2018.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, very good. All right, then, let's jump, that's the only set of minutes that we have, and Paul, you can start passing those around. We'll put John Hancock on those.
Find the title page and sign
Sure.
it before I pass them on.
Okay.
Abstain for the record.
The next item in front of us is warrants, and Mr. Gagner, if you wouldn't mind, the
I
warrants.
had them a second ago.
Sure,
I don't know what I did with them.
that's why we have this black notebook here. You're in the notebook, Paul. You're in the notebook.
There should be another copy with his stuff.
Yeah.
Under here?
Thank you.
Oh,
Hi,
I
Alex.
knew where they were. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants. First of all, we have Ty and Bond for Headworks Analysis, $3,090. We have Alarm Works for the annual fire alarm monitoring, $275. In Veolia, the quarter ending September 2017, $5,720. And the next quarter, ending in December 2017, these are for hauling the sludge out of the plant. Again, $5,720. And Veolia, again, for the quarter ending in March 2018, $4,290. So we're improving there. Veolia, again, for emergency call on Vine Street Pump Station, $911.25. And Veolia again, for February emergency services, $420. And we have Veolia again for the Mass Turnpike 5 East and 6 West testing, $184. Once again, Veolia for the April monthly services, $37,335.97. And the last one from Veolia, a Comag motor that was approved last November 20th, 2017, for $3,947.84. Then we have Jeff Helgeson Excavating for $1,200, and Bigelow Electric for $440, and Commissioner's salary, $500. For a total of everything, $64,034.06.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I just want to point out, Paul, is that the Veolia hauling, that was not our normal bill, that was for up and above
Correct.
our bill. That's-
Anything over 15 loads for the quarter, that's why it's billed on the quarter.
Okay, got it, so it's clear. And the other thing is, and the Helgeson bill was for emergency work at the Headworks building.
Right,
And,
yes.
Yeah, Russell?
Just a question. How many loads over is that, roughly? Do you know? Is there a
It
number
was
associated?
$712 a load, so I believe it's approximately 3 a month. 2 to 3 a month, so it would have been 6 to 8, 6 to
Okay.
9.
Okay, any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous? Okay.
We have no abatements, and we've already done the minutes, so back to you.
Okay, all right, now that, let's take care of this little bit of business here, which is the signing of the minutes.
Just two full?
I've got my agenda in there, I think.
Just one.
All right, you, Alex, signing of the minutes.
That should be commissioner's salary, Alex, that needs to be signed.
Yeah, no, I thought call it when you want.
Minutes.
That's a commitment report, Alex, is that what that is? Okay.
Okay, and now, what do we have to be signed in here?
Yeah, 3 sheets. You have
3 sheets,
that one
gotcha.
cover sheet for the warrants, you have your payroll, and
Yeah.
you have the commitment report.
Okay, minutes.
Okay, so this is the, those bills we just passed. Russ, you were on there.
I can hear me up that side of the one page. Very nice.
I hope so.
Top page only?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next.
I do that one.
Nope. Okay,
It's $715 a load.
7:15 alone.
All right.
We all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and now that we're all here, first order of businesses, I'd like to welcome Mr. Russ Jennings to the board. Just was elected on Saturday. And congratulations and welcome aboard, and
Thank you.
roll your sleeves up. Order of business is, let's call number one, the reorganization of the commission. We do this on an annual basis, so the 3 positions that we're talking about would be the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk.
Clerk.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that Paul Gagner be the chairman.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay,
I'd rather see who we propose for everything to make sure the best person is in the best place. So,
okay, so chairman is now Mr. Gagner. Okay, next position would be vice chair.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Lemansky, vice chair.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I make a motion to appoint Alex McKenzie.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor that needs to be acted on first,
Okay.
okay? So all those in favor of Mr. Lemansky as vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Nay.
Okay. Okay. Position of clerk.
Make a motion, of Russ get his feet and take on the clerk's position.
Except the new guy.
Not the new guy. All right, I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Good. Next item is, so we have any abatements? No abatements?
No abatements.
None. None. And, okay, next item is North Sturbridge Road Sewer Line Extension. I'm gonna excuse myself from this. Okay, in the meantime, we're just gonna pass the gavel over to
Payroll
Mr.
sign.
Oh, yes, you need to appoint someone to sign payroll on a weekly basis.
Oh, okay.
It was Paul.
Okay.
I don't know if you want, if
What-
Paul would mind
The
continuing.
chair
to do
normally
Do you wanna
does that
continue
anyway,
doing
so
that?
yeah, I'll
Sure, no.
continue doing
Friday
it.
morning.
Because Paul used to do that for, how many years, Steve? 3, 4, yeah, he's pretty good at it.
So it's Paul stops in Friday morning between 8 and 9 and signs payroll
Okay.
on a weekly basis, so.
All right,
Paul would like to continue,
do we need just a,
Nominate him?
should we bring that to a vote?
I think so, yes, just
All
motion
right.
for Paul to be the payroll
I'll
signing
make a
authority.
motion to have Paul Gagner sign the payroll.
All right, we got a motion on the floor, we got a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. So that's taken care of. Okay. Is anyone here for public forum? Seeing none? Okay. All right, and we've already gone through the minutes, the warrants, and the basements. Schedule appointment at 6:45, which is the sewer line extension. Like I said, I will vacate this position during this discussion.
All right, I guess I'll take over the discussion of this, and you said you're stepping down or leaving the room.
I may do both.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
I'm gonna recuse myself also. Okay,
due to my friendship with the Lemansky family, so that there's no appearance of favoritism, I'm gonna recuse myself from the discussion as well.
okay,
Steve's here to answer any questions you guys have with the information that was presented.
all right.
Thank you.
Behave in the hallway, boys.
Well, as many of you people know from watching these meetings and in particular reading the Telegram and Gazette, in addition to other local newspapers, there was a lot of controversy over a sewer line put in to North Sturbridge Road that kind of points toward Ronnie's Dairy Bar, which is owned by Mr. Lemansky. Some said that it's illegal, and it is true that Mr. Lemansky did not get approval of the full board, but he did get approval of the chair at the time, who was Mr. John Elliott. It's not, he just didn't go ahead and do it, in other words, he had someone who represents this commission approve him. And it's been kind of laid to rest for the last 7 or 8 years. It's probably around 2008, I don't know the exact date, okay, so it's been about 10 years since this was done. And recently, by recently I mean the last year or two, it seems like it's been brought up again, brought to the foreground, and mostly by the newspaper stirring things up, and thinking that there was conflict of interest. And I might point out, and what I'm going to say is probably my opinion, not necessarily fact, but I think there's a lot of fact involved with
Just
it.
hold on one second,
Yeah.
also.
And as far as any conflict of interest goes with the state or anything like that, Mr. Lemansky and his son paid for and put in this line. They bought the piping, the manholes, everything. And so it was not like they cost the town money and then took advantage of it. They put their own money in, and so in that respect, I don't see that there's any conflict of interest. Usually a conflict of interest is, as I say, when the town spends money and an individual benefits from it, and that was not the case here at all. And a few months ago, probably September, October last year, there was a motion made by this board to get the line pressure tested again and put it to rest. If as long as it passes the pressure test, it would then be, because it's a public, in the public road, it would become public property, not Mr. Lemansky's property, even though he paid for it. And the pressure test has been done a few times, and it's always passed, but more recently, It's been done to, what was it, 180 pounds, and Mr. Wandel here had witnessed this, and it was 180 pounds when we started it, and half hour later, an hour later, 2 hours later, it was still 180 pounds. And so it was pressure tested, it was witnessed, and that satisfied the motion that we had. The motion was, accept the line if it can pass the pressure test. And it did pass the pressure test, and I think once and for all, this line should be accepted by the town, and there's no need to, in my opinion, there's no need to discuss it any further. It's a done deal. Not to mention, being over 10 years old, the statute of limitations on this is probably up anyway. To me, the town is gaining, and a couple people along the way that were on that line are gaining access to sewer at no cost to the town. And that's my opinion on it, and I don't believe it needs any motion, because we did make a motion. The motion to accept it if it passes the pressure test, and that it did. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of this discussion on North Sturbridge Road. Anybody got anything to add to it, or say? Sure, Jen.
I have questions. So you said, and this was the first time that I had heard it, that permission was given from the chair at the time?
Yes.
So was that put to a vote by the board?
Well, I think this is probably where the error to this whole thing, if anything was done incorrectly, the chair at that time should have mentioned this extension line to the board, and it should have been voted upon.
Okay.
He should not have given the permission on his own, which he did. But Lemansky was new to the board. How does he know that, didn't know enough to say, aren't you gonna take it for a vote, he got a written permission, as far as I know, it's written. Yes, okay, to go ahead and put this in.
Okay. And then I guess a bunch of my questions then stem from the Burton Engineering report that we received that was in response to the tie-in bond comments that were
I think
attached in our
maybe
packet.
Mr. Wanlon can address that. As far as I know, the original witnessing of any pressure test was done by Burton Engineering, and they did the original design. But when they sent in the as-built, it was not stamped,
Okay.
which is, so we didn't accept it. But Mr. Wanlon, you got anything you can add to that?
No, sir, I don't. Actually, the Burton Engineering situation was done 10/18/07, which was a year before I got here.
Okay,
So the report reads for itself. So.
which just goes to show how long ago this has been there. And, I mean, what would be an alternative be? Dig up the road and then pass the motion and put it back again? That of course would be foolish. So,
Actually, it's kind of funny you said that, because I was reading an article from the Board of Health about how if people didn't have proper permits, they were actually having them rip up any, I'm not saying roads, but any construction that might have been done at their house.
Yeah.
And there was one instance where they made them pull their entire finished basement and pull it apart because they didn't have proper permitting. But I do have several questions going through this, especially being a layperson. So if I could take the time now, or if you want to table this issue and we can revisit it
we
at the
haven't been on it
end.
too long. Why don't we take the time right now? Otherwise, it's not gonna be put to rest, and I think it ought to be in between myself and Mr. Wanlon. We hopefully can answer any questions you have.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the first one says, the pipe length shown on the permit application appears to be incomplete. And I believe, reading through kind of the notation that's kind of, and Steve, maybe you can help me with that one. It looks like it is complete, that it is in the correct,
There are two prints in the file.
okay,
There's one on that I want to address called the Lenonan access.
okay.
And then there's the one that specifically addresses manholes 1, 2, and 3, which is on North Sturbridge Road. Those plans are complete, they are signed, they are notarized as being an as-built.
Okay, perfect, all right. Number 2, it says it is unclear whether the pipe material used was PVC or PE. Based on the photos provided by the commission, the piping appears to be PVC, although the plans indicate PE. So I guess my question would be is exactly which piping is it, and is it the ones that are shown on the plans, and is it correct?
I can't tell you what PE means. Russ?
I have no idea what the,
Okay, then it possibly could be a misprint, because what's in there is actually a PVC, which is a Schedule 40,
Okay,
and SDR 21. Both those materials occupy, one's in one line, one's in the other. The manhole 1, 2, and 3 is SDR 21. The PVC Schedule 40 is the other manhole, the other line.
okay, perfect. Okay, number 3, no details have been provided for the pipe to manhole connections used at the intersection of North Sturbridge Road and Freight House Road. The connection should be watertight to reduce the potential for infiltration entering the manhole. And I'm just wondering if that is been addressed and if we have the documentation.
As of tonight, I was given an as-built of manhole number 1, which is the one that we're referencing, which is at the Freight House Road. I got that tonight.
Okay, so that's all set.
Steve, real quick, the one at Freight House Road is that one that we witnessed last week. Remember they're close to the gravity line?
Yes.
That's right at Freight House. This one is further up North Sturbridge Road, that item details.
This is number 2?
That's number 1.
Number 1. So, okay, so the,
But
yes,
the one at intersection of Freight House. if
Which
you
is
recall, it's
the one
two
we-
lines that go into the gravity
yes,
fed.
that's the one we took pictures of and observed,
Correct.
so that has been done, that has been taken care of.
So both of those are,
Yes,
okay.
yes. Thank you, Russ.
No, no problem.
Number 4, an as-built sewer line profile was not provided with submitted documents. Low-pressure sewer lines should have been installed at a constant slope to avoid any high points between the properties and the discharge manhole. It
I-
appear, go ahead.
I can't speak to that one.
Okay, so it goes on further to say it appears that a high point exists in the vicinity of 195 City Depot Road. If it does exist, an air release should have been installed, and the applicant should verify that no high point exists on these lines or that air release valves have been installed prior to acceptance by the town. So I guess that would be my question is, are air release valves?
I can assert the fact that there is 2 air release valves that have been installed. There are pictures that I took yesterday, or today, as a matter of
So
fact.
there are 2.
The belly in the line, low point in the line, I can't address, I don't know.
So we don't know if the high point still exists then?
Well, the air pressure release valve is in sewer manhole number 3, which is the high point.
Okay, but there was, what she's referencing is in some of the rhetoric that we've read.
Yes.
It said that it appeared that there was a low point in the line between those 2 manholes, and at that particular point, there had been no air release valve, so there was no way to clear it. Now that the air release valves are in, there is a way to purge the air out of that line. But as far as the belly is concerned, I have no knowledge one way or the other. I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
So we're not quite sure on that one, is that correct?
Well, if you reference the, because that is the Leonin line, if you're mentioning the land planning plan, that has nothing to do with the, one that I installed.
Okay, so I guess then,
We've got 2 lines here that we're confusing back and forth. So
right,
the one we're looking to approve and accept is the North Sturbridge line, which,
so, okay, so I don't need to worry about City Depot Road at this point,
right,
okay. Perfect, thank you on that point, okay, clean out to City Depot Road, so we don't need to deal with that. Number 6, which line are, that's 195, no. Yep, okay, all right, number 7. That is what we're talking about.
I did nothing, yes, I did nothing about the calculations. The calculations that I observed were in here, and they were done by an engineer.
Okay, so, what it says under number 7 is there are discrepancies between the sewerage flow estimates for 191 City Depot Road and the calculation sheet entitled Flow Rate for Line 1 and sewer flow estimates shown on the as-built plans. Do you want me to read what they had written on what the discrepancies were? Did you have a copy of that, or can you just kind of?
Provide to me, whichever you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
So, it just asks that this comment will be required to be addressed by the owner of 191 City Depot Road regarding what his flows are.
And again, 191 takes it away from North Sturbridge Road.
Okay. So, we're good on that? Pressure test, boom, 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 service cards, boom, 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 number 10. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes and trying to go through this as quick as possible. I think. I think those are everything I have on North Sturbridge Road. For that, give me one more second, please, and I think I'm good to go. That's all done. I think everything else. I think those are the questions that I have.
Okay, we can call our hallway guest back in, I assume, and continue on with our meeting. I do a quick thing on that, the 191 South Sturbridge Road. I think I was on the commission when that came through, and we gave the person putting in that line a lot of problems. So it wasn't an easy job for him to just put it in and have it accepted. But it was eventually accepted by this board. I think I was part of the signing of that. So if there are any other issues that he had, which again doesn't affect North Sturbridge Road, you know, I'm not aware of that, but it was signed and approved at the time. That's all I can remember.
So just for clarification for, all of us, I guess, Mr. Lemansky's coming forth this evening to, make sure he's completed everything that was requested of him by this board at an earlier date to finalize acceptance of the sewer line.
Correct.
And the pressure test was the last of those requirements of the board. Now that he's done so, now what's the procedure? Now he gets a certificate of compliance from you?
If I might, I would suggest that the board that's convened restate the October motion with the statement that based on the successful pressure test, that it has been complied and a motion to therefore accept the line.
Do you have the motion of October?
October, I have October 3rd, 2016.
That's the one.
You see
That's
that?
it.
And there are other issues
Thank
that you knew of going forward that we needed to.
Not on
Well,
the North Sturbridge Road.
I also have one prior to that, in April of 16.
Okay. Thank you.
so this one, that's on the different line.
That's the 191.
Okay. This is very confusing report then for me.
So the motion by Mr. Berthium to have new pressure test done, witnessed by our town coordinator, Steve, I believe that's you.
Correct.
And we also witness with the town, the connection in the manhole, upon a passing pressure test, the line would be active for our customers. So, is that's the
That's,
motion you were
and if I
referring to?
recall too, the vote on that, Mr. Lemansky abstained, and the other 4 members voted so this passed unanimously, except for the absentee vote, so.
And there would be no need for any privilege, betterment fees, or anything like that?
I would doubt it, because he paid for it all himself.
Connection fees? Or well, they're not really called
I don't
connection
think we have connection fees for sewer, do we? And only
Yeah, it's
connection fees for
$100.
water, oh.
I've read a lot of documents on this, and I think that one of them and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, specifically in the approval of and granting permission to install states that there will be no fees associated with such, so that maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lemansky.
Yeah, I'm not, I can't say.
Okay, so that if someone along the line who has a lateral in front of their house wants to tie in, they're not gonna be charged, right?
That,
That's the-
from what I understand, from what I read, those financial arrangements will be between them and the people who funded the construction. So it would be, for example, if Ross was going to connect, and you were the three people that funded it, and it cost you $1,000 apiece, and there's 6 more, then divided by 6, he would reimburse you, because the town's money didn't go into that. So any dollars and cents that
I'm
you're
not sure
talking
that's,
about,
I guess
I believe that's what was said in the,
I would want more clarification on that before I would be able to make a decision.
well, I'm pretty sure that I read that there wasn't going to be a charge. Is that what you,
Well, that was my belief, but I don't have anything in writing to put
I would
it
love
back
to
it
be
up.
able to table that until we found out the issue. Not that I'm trying to stall on any account, I
Well, I
just
don't
wanna
think
make
we're-
sure that we're putting everything correctly, because I don't want this to come up another year or two from now and have there be questions and have to have somebody come back because we didn't ask all the correct questions. So that would be my only concern on this, so.
well, I mean, I don't think that there's, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know for sure if there's any immediate situation that, wouldn't mind waiting for potentially until our next meeting to find out clarification on that issue, if, whether or not someone's dying to tie in or not.
So you'd be fine with having, if I made a motion, or, did you make a motion, do you have a motion on the table?
No, there's
Okay.
nothing right now.
So I'd like to make a motion to table the issue and find out the answer to that question. That would
Well,
be,
I personally don't think that has anything to do with it. If there is a privilege fee or something to be paid, the motion can be made and the privilege fee can still become due upon proving that there is one due. In this way, because I do think there are a couple other people on that line who have failed systems, who are kind of anxious to tie in right now, and I'd hate to deny them tying in due to town politics, which, as you know, can go on forever and ever and ever.
And-
So this way here, it would allow them to tie in, because we said, we didn't say subject to other things. The motion here was made to pass the pressure test and then accept it. If there was some extra things, like a privilege fee or something, that's a separate issue from passing the motion that, you know, that was made.
If I might be able to solve the whole problem of this, we could call Peter back into the room and ask him the question, whether he knows or not. Maybe he has that answer, and he can provide that answer for us.
I don't know if he would, well, I'm not gonna speak for Peter.
Just for instance, when you go to pull, if a contractor goes in to pull a tie-in permit fee down at the sewer plant, we have to pay a fee. And
Yeah.
I take that as an inspection fee from the department to make sure that it's done properly, the connection's made. And then the betterments, there's no betterment charges to any of the people who front that line and who have a lateral.
correct,
We paid for it for
Correct.
installing the line.
correct.
So,
That was true.
I think when you, it's not like, in different towns that I've been in where I do work, you gotta pay X amount of dollars per bedroom.
Yep.
And that's to cover the cost that the town put in to put the sewer main in and to provide all the work. So I just think when Steve mentions that $100 fee or the permit fee, that's what covers it from people that are coming out and doing their inspection.
Also, consider the fact that Ronnie's is not yet tied in.
No,
When they tie in, then a privilege fee might become due at that time, if there were to be one, which I don't think there is, but not to hold up putting this to rest tonight. So simply the stuff is put in the road. There's just, you know, anybody tying in might or might not be subject to a privilege or a betterment fee. If it's been more than 6 months since the pipe was there, I guess we'd have to call it a privilege fee, not a betterment fee. No?
I would still like to keep my motion on the floor. If it's not seconded, I do understand.
Well, I think, to Paul's point, there really is no need to make a motion was made.
The
at that
motion was
point in
already
time.
made.
So,
Wasn't subject to any fees, it was simply subject to passing a pressure test.
yep,
In other words, the physical work that was done is adequate.
Yep.
If there are fees or anything else connected with it, that's a separate issue. It has nothing to do with what we're approving.
so, based off that information, the next step would be a certificate of compliance? Is that what it would be from you, Steve? The applicant would come down and say, I've completed everything to the board's wishes, and here's the final piece of that, the pressure test,
The
which,
vote was done in October.
Yep.
That vote carries the representation of the Water and Sewer Commission saying that somebody comes down to the office to do a connection fee, I can now give them a connection, or a license to connect, or a permit to connect. And they can go do their connection to within compliance and the rules and regulations of the Water and Sewer Commission.
okay.
That's the way I see it and feel about it too, so.
Well, I'm certainly not gonna start day one overriding decisions that have been made
Sure.
prior to me sitting here, so.
And I believe myself and Jen both voted for this, as well as Alex. And Gabe was on the board at the time. This was, well, he made the motion, so.
Yep.
Everybody that was concerned here has approved of what this motion was. It wasn't even a split decision, you know, it was unanimous.
Okay. So, are you satisfied with that,
Yes.
Russ?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay.
So do we have to have another motion then to
I don't
pass
see
it?
why we would.
I don't see a need for it.
Okay.
He's provided all the information that has been required of him by this board.
Alright, I wanna just
he's
make
met
sure,
the
cause I don't
checklist.
want this to come up again.
No, absolutely not. No one,
I
no
don't
one
want
likes,
everyone to just be
no one
able
likes
to.
the moving goal line, right? Everyone likes to know when we say, this is what you need to do to get your permit or your certificate of compliance. Once you do this checklist, then it's done. And if everything's been done and submitted, then I guess checklist has been satisfied and
Okay.
it's met the goal line. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You guys have a great night.
you too.
And you're going out in the hall, send the others back in, please.
Give these back.
Which one you want?
If you don't
Oh, you
need
give me that, I'm sorry.
Thank you for having those at hand.
Going home.
I think he has a certificate of compliance to write out.
Yeah? Thank you. Okay. You wanna stay right there, Paul? You comfortable?
Yeah, we're comfortable. I think Ross is happy and we did what was in front of us in black and white.
It's okay,
so.
good. Next.
You can continue chairing this meeting if you'd like, since, you know, I'll start fresh next week or something like that. And with that having been done, we're on the water rate study.
Okay, thank you. Good night, Steve.
Right, see you in the morning.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, Steve.
So, Steve.
My glasses. Give Jen a couple extra seconds here.
Yeah, she just stepped out for a minute.
Okay. Well. Okay. All right, continuing on to new business. Peter, the water rate study,
Yes.
where's that going?
So this is following up from our discussion about becoming a consecutive water supply with Southbridge. The next, I guess, piece of information we need is to have a water rate study done so we can determine if it's financially feasible for us to go consecutive and be able to afford the operational cost if you choose to stay with Southbridge's water rates. So, back when you had your sewer water rate study done last October, the gentleman from Pioneer Consulting Group gave you a proposal back then to do a water rate study. It was around $19,500. We have a proposal from Beta for the same amount to do a water rate study. And talking to the chief procurement officer, anything over 10,000 and less than 50, I need to solicit 3 written proposals. So hopefully I'll be able to do that over the next 3 weeks and have something ready for your first meeting in June, to have 3 proposals for you to consider.
Is there any grant money available to this? Can this come into the category of something
Yes.
that we can?
We still have grant money remaining to cover this. We had the $200,000 grant, a $25,000 grant, and a $30,000 grant. So I believe the $200,000, if you approve Beta's amendment further down, will be all allocated for, and we can still draw from the $25,000 grant that's available. I'll confirm that with Robin to make sure it is, and I'll hopefully come back to you. I just wanted to confirm, my thoughts were to, again, solicit Beta, ask them if they want to tell them I'm gonna put it out for a written proposal, see if they wanna resubmit with a different price. I was gonna contact the Abrahams Group, who's done quite a bit of work in town with the Board of Assessors and for the sewer betterments and sewer rates in the past. And then I was trying to think of a third. In watching your interaction with Pioneer, I think we might wanna I was thinking about reaching out to Ty and Bond, unless the commission has anybody else that they know of or they'd like to use for a water rate consultant.
Well, I don't think we should eliminate Pioneer.
Okay, so,
I wouldn't have a problem with them bidding it, and the question is, who we go to award it to and on what basis of awarding we do.
so I'll reach out to those 3 then and get written proposals for you to consider at the first meeting of June.
You have to reach out to these companies. That's a procedure. Doesn't mean they definitely submit a bid back to you. One out of 3 might, right?
Correct, but I'm pretty sure we'll at least get 2 out of 3,
Okay.
possibly 3 out of 3.
Yep. Okay.
What happens if you Google it? Water rate study, municipal water rate study?
Yeah, it
You
came
think
up-
you'll get any new names?
I did that this afternoon. Didn't come up with many new names, no.
Okay.
Unfortunately. It came up with a bunch of water rate studies that were completed for different municipalities that I didn't open to see who did them, but it was, I didn't come up with so I could call MMA, I guess, or contact some, I did reach out to Heather Blakely, this afternoon, ask her who they use, but I haven't heard back yet, so. Considering what I get back for information, I'll do these 3 at a minimum, and once I have the request for a proposal, I can forward it off to anybody to see more is better, so.
Yeah, you
To
can
see
always,
what we get.
Did they drop the amount down to 10,000? I thought it was 15 or 25
For what?
for having to seek 3 bids, if it was over a certain amount.
Over 10 takes 3 written quotes, 10 to 50,
10 to 50.
10 to 50. Okay.
and they must be written.
So, much like we did for the headworks analysis, I'll probably take somewhat of the scope of work that Beta provided, call a few people, email that to them under the sheet that we use for the headworks analysis, and have them get us a written proposal back for everyone to consider. And we're not meeting till June 4th, so hopefully I'll have all that information for you by then.
okay, next item, 98 Masonic Home Road,
Yes.
sewer privilege fee, new lot created. Which side is 98 on? Is it on
It's
the
across the
Sturbridge?
street, Masonic Home Road's across the street from the police station, the new house that's being built there.
Okay. Well, that's not across the street from the police station.
Well, it's on the,
Across
it's on the
Maryland
opposite side of the police station.
Coming down to the center on the right, first house after Masonic Home.
After,
right?
correct, yeah, yeah,
on-
that's more like across from the Grimwade house.
Okay,
Okay,
it's on the opposite side of the road.
okay. So they created a new lot there for that?
They did.
Someone told me that, I thought that was multifamily. Do you know if it's single family or multifamily?
I believe it's single family at
Okay.
this time. It looks like a single family home with an attached garage. I can, it hasn't been assessed yet as a multifamily, so I wouldn't know for sure, but I think we can, if we assess the betterment now, assess the privilege fee as a single family, if we find out differently after the assessors do their walkthrough, we can adjust to a
Well, and
second
I'm
privilege
sure
fee as
there's a
well.
set of plans on file with the building department, which would show.
Show a
what's there.
separate permit.
Yeah.
I'll check with Kurt on that
Thank you.
So,
to verify.
why is this here, Peter?
Because there was never brought in front of you guys to have a privilege fee assessed. It's a new lot,
Yeah,
broken off of 100 Masonic Home Road, which is
Okay.
connected and paid a betterment.
okay.
So this new lot was created, they have approval to connect, they have actually connected, and they haven't paid anything at this time.
Okay, because maybe I'm mistaken, but I would think that's almost an automatic down at the treatment plant in the office, to where when someone would come in, it's a new lot, then you'd have to pull that additional paperwork out.
It is
So it was
now.
missed. Okay, got
It's
it.
on the building permit, is that the way it works?
It's on the application permit, yes, to check off whether or not it was assessed a betterment previously.
Okay,
And in order to assess the privilege fee, again, Sue and I went and met with the assessors last week to talk about process. You just have to make the motion to assess it, sign this form. That gets the process moving forward for them. Once they notify the homeowner or the landowner that this is happening, they'll let us know when the lien is ready to be recorded, and we'll have to take it to the registry of deeds and record the lien at that time. They'll have a 30-day window to pay it off. If they do, there's no lien attached. If they don't, then we attach the lien.
and they have one of 4 different choices to pick as far as.
Yes, that's
payment
part of the
schedule.
assessor's letter that they
Okay.
mail out.
All right, so, again,
Are they aware of this?
The homeowner? Yes.
so the new information for me is that every time a privilege fee is issued, it has to come through the board, and the board
Yes,
has to.
it's not, it
vote.
can't be automatically done. I'm talking to
Okay.
Debbie, you get,
Okay.
the Water Sewer Commission has to vote it.
Yeah.
We have to show them the minutes, and you have to sign this form.
Okay,
Then that will start the process moving forward for them to solicit payment. And if they get paid, like I said, it's just paid and it goes away. If they choose to do it over time, then the Board of Assessors will tell us how long, and we'll assess that lien and move forward that way.
to the best of your knowledge, it's a single-family home?
At this time, yes, it's a
Okay,
single
all
family.
right, so, entertain a motion
Someone needs to make a motion to assess.
for the assessment of a single-family water betterment at 98 Masonic Home Road.
There's a map blocking lot there as well, on this, if you want.
Okay, so,
Whoever makes the motion.
again, whoever's, I would
It's
entertain
on
it.
your paperwork as well, I guess.
Okay. All right.
So I guess you'd want to identify the piece of property and how much the privilege fee would be based on how you've done it in the
Okay.
past for a
All right,
single family,
all right,
for one EDU for a single family home.
Right,
If I find out it's different than that, then we can revisit it at your next meeting.
So I'll make a motion to assess the privilege fee to 98 Masonic Home Road, 42-A-5.1 in the amount of $8,200.
do I have a second on that?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay. We each have to sign this, Peter.
Yes, please.
There you go, the next one.
I got 2 weeks off. Could be worse, right?
Okay, next item of business, we've got a carryover 1-week vacation time for Mr. Boria. This is a request, Peter?
Yes. I still have 2 weeks vacation left to use. There's only 8 weeks left before the year ends, so I'd like to carry over 1 week for next year. And that'll give me 4 weeks to use next year, if kind of,
I make a motion to allow Peter Boria to carry 1 week's vacation into the 2019 fiscal year.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous?
thank you. Just
Okay.
one person has to sign up on that.
Paul's the payroll guy.
Notice I passed it too. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this town administrator, it's,
Department, appointing authority.
Yeah, that's where I got my finger here, so.
okay, old business, chapter 61A, King Road.
This was in front of you last time for a chapter 61A release. There's 20 acres on King Road that is being sold, and we talked about it, and it was asked if we had any information from the local well drillers as to whether or not there's possible water solution there. I did talk to Steve Saveska, and he said he's been in that area multiple times to frack wells.
Up to Frackham, okay.
So-
Yeah.
He said further towards Saundersdale, there may be some better producing wells, but in that King Road area, in
Yeah.
Avent Road, he's been there quite a bit to frack wells, so. At this time, I don't think it's necessarily a good area for us to invest any money for a possible future water supply. So,
Okay. Number 2 on that, same instance, Pete, chapter 61A, 21.
If someone could make a motion to not exercise, so the Board of Selectmen solicits all the departments for recommendations on whether or not to exercise their right of first right of refusal. So, if you guys would just recommend if someone can make a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen not to exercise their right of first right of refusal on this parcel, I will forward that information to them for their meeting tomorrow night.
I'll make the motion to not exercise the Water and Sewer Commission's right of first refusal on the property.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, just to let you know, this was the area that we did do some research.
Not that I could
Years
find
ago.
on any of our maps. That's part of 2003 or 2006. I thought, I looked at the map.
6 or 7, this is, I know the process they used was like shotgun shells, and they would detect the vibration coming back. Because this is really, Horn Homestead, that's where Dick's Tire Barn is, right?
Well, no, we're still
The
on
next one.
King Road.
It's the next one.
We're still on King Road right now.
Oh,
We jumped ahead and jumped
I
back.
thought we were all set at
Because of
King
the
Road.
motion.
I
We
thought we
voted
were
for it.
off King Road too.
No,
No.
Sorry, people.
no.
I got
Russell's
Celtics on the
motion-
mind, maybe that's why.
maybe. Russell's motion was still for King Road, correct?
Okay, all right,
Correct.
forgive me. Okay,
So we need a vote?
we got a second on that?
I seconded it, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, so Horn Homestead Road is a much larger parcel. They're not actually selling it. This parcel is part of the Gunter's family estate where they had, I forget exactly how many house subdivision they had done. They're taking a portion of that subdivision and they're repurposing it for solar. So there's probably, if you look at this parcel, I forget how many acres it is, but it's quite a decent size that they already have gone through planning board and have approval to do solar there. But they still have to pull it out of 61A, so to do that, we still have right of first refusal. I'm not sure how you figure out what the cost for the property is, but, it seems like we're kinda we're a little late to the party on this one because they already have approval to do their solar.
Where's 21? Is it on the top of the hill, or I assume it must be not on the way up, it must be near the...
Yeah, there's a small access way across the end of the road from, the Gunter house, and it goes all the way down to, it has a little bit of an access way on Richardson's Corner Road, so it's kinda in that corner there. It has a 50-foot easement and a small little area there, onto Richardson's Corner Road. But they still have their other subdivision that's going in off of, I think it's Boucher Drive, right,
Yep,
which is up off
Boucher
of Old
Road.
Worcester Road, Boucher
Mhm.
Road, so. They
And
still
this,
have,
and this would go all the way to the power lines in the back.
that easement's pretty close to it. So this one seems more like a technicality, because we don't have a sale price to really consider. If we wanted to exercise our right of first refusal, usually there's a purchase and sale, so you know how much it would cost you to purchase it. There's no sale, they're just taking it out of 61A to use it, so.
Okay, so what they'll have to do is their back taxes that they would have to pay?
Yeah, just like anything else, and then they'll be able to use it as it is,
Yep.
so.
Well, I'll make a motion to not exercise sewer and water commissioners' right of first refusal for the property listed as 21 Horn Homestead Road.
Okay, got a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, number 3, Beta, amendment number 2. Wanna
Yes.
Explain that, Mr. Boria?
This was in front of you guys last time as part of their amendment number 2 to do the drilling and, the public water supply well exploration down in the Phillips property near Buffinville. We do have a signed, executed agreement with the Phillips to go onto their property and do this exploration. There was questions last time as far as breaking it down and having tasks associated, or, values associated with each cost and task, and that's what they've done here. So you can see the tasks identified on page A2 and the cost associated with each task on page A3. The cost hasn't changed, but everything is identified for you there. And the further we go, as far as, they only get paid as we approve them to move forward with each task.
We approved all of them at the same time when we save any money.
We would, yes, but I'm not sure we would. It's passed back all those plans, Rob.
Keep me-
Keep going,
How am I doing now?
keep going. I'll work on that.
Okay,
A
Data,
few
got
more.
it, got it. All right, 19.5, is that where we are?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so basically what they've done is they've set monuments and prices to go with them.
They've identified the tasks, yes, and associated prices with each task as we ask them to move forward with them.
Yep.
So if they don't move past task 2 of exploratory, if task 2 does not turn anything up to move forward, if we drill those 2 wells and they're bone dry and we stop, task 3, 4, and 5 will not happen. So that cost will not be incurred.
Very good.
So
So that gives us a real clear picture.
I think, yes, it definitely identifies the questions or answers the questions you guys had at the last meeting as to what are we really getting into. I think the tasks are clearly identified, the cost to do each task is there. And then, again, because Robin signed the initial contract, she can sign, hopefully you guys will approve this tonight, she'll sign it, and we can get Beta to move forward with this.
So this is, this is the second part of a contract that's already been in place. And the first amount was $85,900. That was,
I believe the first amount was 75,000, there was an amendment number 1, that brought it to 85,900.
okay.
This is amendment number 2, which brings the total to 175,490.
Okay. And this is money coming out of a $200,000
Grant,
grant?
yes.
Okay.
So as we receive invoices from Beta, we forwarded them to DEP, and DEP disperses the money as they get it. So. And again, they have a certificate of appropriation there, so the town accountant will have to verify that we have that much money left in the grant to cover the cost of this and protect everybody on that.
Okay, you don't need any votes or anything, we're all
No,
set
we
with this.
definitely need a vote
You need a vote
to approve this amendment.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, I
please.
thought it was approved based on them
So
coming
this
back
is,
with the separation.
this
Okay.
is amendment number 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and where's the one that's gonna be signed?
I haven't printed one of those out.
All right, okay, because you're looking at consistency, correct? And that's
Yes.
why you've got the procurement officer signing
I think
this?
I think anything we do moving forward, we should have our chief procurement officer sign, because that covers all of us to make sure that we've done it correctly, so we can't get jammed up in the future. I think it covers me, it covers you guys, as long as that chief procurement officer signs off on it, and someone challenges what we've done, they're the one with the knowledge of that.
Or we could choose to sign it ourselves,
You can't, well,
Yeah.
this one, I think,
because we've started.
this one, You haven't you didn't sign the initial contract.
No, exactly, that's
But
my
if,
point.
if you started from the get-go, yes, you
Yeah.
could probably, you could do it
Yep,
yourself.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm not saying you can't, I just, it's a
All
little.
right, looking to accept a motion to accept amendment number 2, agreement for professional services between the town of Charlton and Beta Group, Inc.
Is that how you need the motion stated? Or do you need the amount in there?
The, I guess amendment 2 is printed, if you want to state the amount, the total amount, the new total amount, which would be,
Is it the 89?
no, it'd be the 175,490, I believe.
That's when you add the 89,500 to what we had already agreed
Correct.
on.
The-
85,000, so almost
Right.
the same amount more.
Is that the correct amount? So that you need it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I know.
175.9?
$175,490 is
Okay.
what the new total contract will be.
Make a motion, we accept as written the new Beta amendment 2 for $175,490.
Second.
Get a second? Okay. We have any discussion on this, or any further discussion?
Clarifying that now, that the actual motion is to add the 89,500 to 590 to what was already there for a total of what Alex just said.
That's why I asked what I asked
Well,
about the
yeah,
89,000 to
Yeah, right.
begin with.
But it's,
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, that's.
it's as printed, which is pretty clear in the print here.
Alex, your motion referenced amendment number 2 and the new total, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're covered.
And you seconded.
I did.
What's a little tricky here is because the former one was 85.9 and the new one totals to 89,590.
Yep.
So, but in total together, that's where you get the 175,490. Okay, got a motion on the floor. We have a second?
Yep.
We have a second. Any additional questions or information need to consider? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous?
I'm gonna abstain. Not that I disagree with
Okay.
approving it, I just haven't read the scope of all these tasks yet,
Okay.
so.
All right, so it's 401. Thank you. All right, so that takes care of the Beta. Berry Corner Road Waterline Extension Construction Oversight. Okay.
You wanna sign this one too?
I don't think so.
Okay, I was just reading over this, the memorandum here.
So at your last meeting, it was discussed about construction oversight and what McClure Engineering is doing for us for the Berry Corner Road. And I know Gabe mentioned that it was discussed to have $200,000 for construction oversight for Charlton to oversee, or have our own resident engineer overseeing the project. I talked to Chris, and he doesn't recall it that way, and Chris doesn't think it's necessary to have, for Chris, say we use McClure Engineering to do the oversight, to have tie and bond with their resident engineer, and McClure hiring his own engineer to represent us, to have 2 resident engineers watching the same trench, the same construction project. So, It was discussed that when the budget for the Berry Corner Road project was happening, there was a $10 million cap for funding, and the project cost was getting near that, so that the engineering amount that Charlton was given in the Walsh report, you can see, was whittled down to $20,000 for construction oversight.
From 200,000.
Nobody, Chris does not recall it ever being
I
200,000.
clearly recall it.
Okay, and-
Clearly,
Okay,
okay? Yeah.
but it's down, so the Walsh report, you can see what they did for construction estimate, it was whittled down to $20,000. The Walsh report is an attachment to the administrative consent order between the town of Charlton, the town of Southbridge, Casella, and DEP. So this is a fixed document that is not easily changed. In talking to Chris about this amount, he said that with Ty and Bond having their own resident engineer on site, and him being able to make the weekly construction meetings and being available if any change orders come up, or if anything happens to pop up in the meantime, to oversee that, and again, just check on that and make recommendations for us, so that we have someone in the room at that time. He seemed to think that $20,000 is adequate. I know what your recollection is, Mr. Lemansky.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just-
no, it's crystal clear.
So,
Crystal.
this is where we're at,
Yeah.
so I just need direction from the board if, again, if you want to do something different than how this is planned to move forward. Right now, the plan is, as I just stated, Ty and Bond, Southbridge has hired Ty and Bond to design it, and they're gonna oversee the construction, have a resident engineer on site that we are gonna have to vet and approve of to make sure they're qualified to do the job. And that resident engineer will take Ty's, and Ty and Bond will provide us with as-bills. We're gonna have, Steve is still on staff, Steve will be doing spot inspections on our behalf, going up there at time and time again. The town of Southbridge will have, whether it's Steve Blanchard or Steve Gregoire, doing spot inspections as well on their behalf, and, I think there'll be quite a bit of oversight on this.
And is that one engineer per crew? I saw somewhere.
That's,
Like-
yes.
Yeah, there's a resident engineer per crew.
That's what Chris recommended, is to make sure we identify that. If they add an additional crew, that they must have an additional RE to supervise that crew.
So how are we funding, Mr. Wanlin going up there and checking on these things?
From our budget, from our sewer
From our budget.
From our, yes, you'd be,
But we didn't plan on that in our budget.
no.
And so that's why, getting back to the original amount that was there. Because what has happened, and it's good news. The good news is this project has come in under budget.
Yeah.
During the planning, it was getting close to being, or was gonna be over budget. And that's why they started to do some, call it value engineering, or relooking at the numbers. And it was, during a meeting, it was offered out that the 200,000 could come down to 20,000, and that Charlton would participate in this by agreeing to allow 1 million of a $6 million grant to be tapped to help pay for this. So we started out with a $10 million deal. The town was kicking in a million. Between Southbridge, Casella, and the state, they were kicking in 9 million. Well, the project just came in at 6 million. So are we gonna get our $1 million back?
That is something we're gonna have to set up a meeting and go discuss with DEP when you guys are ready to make that request.
Well, I think we need to make the request as soon as possible. And also is I would like to make the request for this to get reinstated back to the 200, and then have them show us why our amount's too high, and so that we can do some consideration of making sure that Mr. Wanlin can get paid out of this project rather than out of the backs of our water and sewer users. Because really, it's happening in our town, but this is no different than ExxonMobil. This is damage that was caused by other parties, and they need to be responsible. So that's where I'm coming from on this.
So So you're looking for funding, not necessarily for us to have our own RE, but for us to offset our costs of Steve and whatever else we're gonna have to do for
We'll call
inspection.
it an RE, call it whatever you want, but the thing is the original inspection. And they may have changed it, they may have changed, all right, then Ty and Bond is gonna come in and they're now gonna do this extra work. But, don't forget, once it goes in the ground, we own it,
Yes, no, I understand.
yeah. So, you always wanna make sure that what's going in is correct. And and the processes have been followed.
That's why they have REs on site.
Do any, again, the $1 million one is the bigger one that is the discussion I'm guessing you guys really wanna have, and see what's gonna happen with that money that was taken from the bond bill, so. If anyone is interested in going, if you guys wanna appoint a subcommittee, I can set up those meetings or talk to the people and try and get those meetings set up so we can start that discussion.
You can sign me up.
Anybody else?
Depends on when it is.
I'll participate.
Okay. The goal is to keep it at 2, so we don't have to post and it's not a public meeting, so. I
That's
don't know
fine, if you're able to go, then that's, I just don't know my schedule.
If you're unable to go, then
Yeah, well, one of us will go, so you'll have two.
Okay, so we'll work it out between the three of you. I will set up those meetings and see what we can get to start happening.
Thank you,
While
Peter.
we're on the Berry Corner Road, I believe the low bidder was disqualified.
Whoop.
So Polito Construction was disqualified because of the unit price bid. Their addition was incorrect and they couldn't make the project work for the price that they bid. So the next lowest bidder, I believe, was Ludlow Construction, and I believe the total cost with alternate bid 1 to go to the town line was around 7.6 million. So,
Why was I hearing the next bidder was 6.4 or 6.6?
I'm not
might have
sure.
been without the alternate bidding.
And I think they were still over 7. I think the alternate was like 330 or 340.
As much as I,
So,
was it Balthazar? Where was
no,
he?
Baldassar was 3rd on the list.
Third.
Yep.
And he was in the mid-sevens?
He must have been up over 8 or 7, not 7.9. So I believe I forwarded you Ty and Bond's comments. Ty and Bond has a recommendation for the town of Southbridge to award the bid to I believe it's Ludlow Construction. The Southbridge Town Council is gonna be taking that under advisement next week at their meeting.
Does anybody remember, is Ludlow the company that did this, the Burlingame School little loop to where we went through the property of the Art Center, came around?
I was thinking that was Smith, but
No, Smith did this one out here, Paul.
he didn't.
Then I think, of course, on that one street out there in Springfield, there's like 3 of these guys. They're all, they all work on the same street. But I know they did they were crackerjacks as far as getting the work done. All right, so, but
that's
still,
what- it's still well
we're-
under, yeah.
Yeah, we're at 75% of the amount, so there's still funds there. I think we do have to give Ty and Bond a little tip of the hat here for getting this thing up and running and going versus the meeting we had here the other night with Kleinfelder and Exxon water job, which was supposed to start this summer. It's now gonna start, no, it's supposed to start last summer, which is now gonna start maybe this fall. Yeah. Are we gonna give a report on that meeting, Peter, or you don't feel there's a need to?
No, we can, I'm sorry, just,
It's okay.
no, we should, we definitely should.
So, sure, want to put it on next next meeting's agenda?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can just, I can mention it in my superintendent's
Okay.
report.
Yeah. All right, next thing, treatment plant lighting upgrade.
Yes. So this has been going around and around a little bit, trying to identify everything and get some final prices together. So, again, it started out as a $4,500 project to just do some outside lighting around the plant and, the Headworks building mostly for safety issues and for some energy savings. After that, I met with Mass Saves, and they said they had a different municipal rebate program than what Ed LaForte was using. And we looked at, and he also said there was some grant funding that the town had available. So when I found out there was grant funding available, I asked them if they could see what the price would be to just go through the entire plant and get everything done at once. So what you have in front of you is a proposal to do all of the indoor and all of the outdoor lights at the treatment plant. The total project cost is just over $26,000. There's about $8,330 in National Grid rebates available. There is $3,235 left in our Green Communities grant that we can have to help fund this project. And if you continue with a $4,500 contribution that you already had approved previously, that leaves the project cost at just over $10,000. National Grid also has a program where they will help you fund the project and give you a 24-month zero-interest loan. So if we were to do that and use their loan, our monthly payment would be approximately $422 and would be offset by our cost savings, pretty much is what the guy from Mass Saves is saying. So,
It's like being at the desk of the car salesman.
trust me, I hate to be
Yeah.
that way,
Well, no, hey,
but this
no,
is,
good
this
job,
is where,
Pete, good
this is
job.
where we're at, so.
Yeah, so,
We can step back and just do what was initially approved and be done with it. There is gonna be another round of grants, Green Communities grants, you can apply for, but that's not till the spring of 2019. No guarantee that these incentives will be in place at that time, so. All in all, I think it's not the best result I wanted to present to you. I was hoping we'd have more grant money to put towards this and kind of move forward, but it did turn into quite a big scope of work. There's a lot of lighting in that plant that has been there for a long time where the bulbs haven't even been replaced, so I think this really just goes through the entire plant, gets us everything we need to continue to move forward. It'll be a nice upgrade, and I think we're still getting a decent deal for it. I think if you look at what we're getting for incentives and what we're gonna use for, what we're gonna get for grant money, that's just over $11,000. Pretty much what we're paying for is labor to have them installed.
Pete, I got a question on the financing from National Grid. Is that capped at the 10,128, or will they finance our total cost of 14,628?
I believe it said they'd finance up to 75 or 80% of the project.
Okay.
65%.
Okay, so, put the facts on the table, that, the age of that building down there varies.
Yes.
So it goes from, let's say, from 20 years old, and then there's portions that are a little bit younger than that. And so we have an opportunity here to get $26,000 worth of equipment for 14,600. And of the 14,600, we only have to put $4,500 down, another 24 months, pay the $10,000. I think, have a good night,
Have
Alex.
fun, Alex, thanks.
I think looking from a point of view of, it's being stewards of the property, that not only will this create a brighter work environment, thus being safer, also it's gonna create less energy costs. So, the savings aren't only the $11,565, there's, again, the savings on electricity.
Well, is that right? The annual electric cost savings is $12,710?
I didn't even turn to that page, really.
That's what they
That's
came
what
up
their
with.
estimate is?
Well, that's if you use our kilowatt rate of 16 cents per kilowatt hour. I believe our cost is 9 cents based on the solar credit program that we have. So our savings would be about,
So it's half that.
so it's just over 7,000, and that's if all the lights were working, which they're not, so I think we're at like 80% of the 7,000, so I think it's comfortable to say that our cost savings will cover that $422 a month pretty easily, and then after the 2 years when it's paid off, it'll definitely be a true cost savings, so your return on investment probably, after it's paid off, is only 3 years.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Oh, sure, by all means, go ahead.
That was a previous email that I got from him, yes.
so we could technically do,
We could finance more with him, yes.
and
I
then,
just, it just seemed more manageable to me,
But-
like the 4,500 was already allocated,
already put
keep it
that in
there, and,
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something and that was perfect.
So with the savings, this is gonna pay for itself.
yes,
Yeah,
that's the plan.
okay. And
That's what we
the,
all like to hear.
that's right, and the outside lighting, is this mounted on the building, or we got anything up on poles?
Both.
Both,
Whatever's out there is being replaced and will be on photocells. So it'll only come on when we need it,
And this is done, this is Ed,
yes. Working through National Grid, yeah,
yep.
And 4,500 comes out of,
capital, our capital fund.
we've already appropriated that.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, okay, all right. Got a motion here? Go forward with this project?
I'll make a motion to go forward with this project with National Grid. With the $4,500 we'll put down and financing the 10,128 for $422 a month, which will be less than zero when we get we'll get our savings back. So essentially, we're getting $26,000 a project for $4,500.
Agreed.
Is what it's costing us, so.
Second,
Okay, any other further discussion on this?
I do have a question, and I don't know if, this is, way out of left field. It has to do with the grants from the green communities, only $3,235.
Yes.
That's the green communities grant money?
That's all that's remaining.
Okay,
There's other project, I think the town was awarded over 100 and something thousand, but there's other projects that money's already allocated for.
I guess my question comes in, and it might not be germane to this discussion, but, if a solar moratorium is passed, do we potentially lose grant money from the Green Communities Act? Do you know?
I haven't even thought of that question, so no, I don't know. Because I'm not sure how the Green Communities Act, I'm not sure how the Green Communities Grant is worded, and if solar is a key component of that, and if, like you said, if the moratorium passes, if that would negate us in the future from receiving that funding.
But this is money we've already taken.
It's already been awarded. Robin has talked to the person facilitating the grant, and this is the amount that's left under this grant already. And
Okay.
these funds have to be used by the end of 2018. And then the next round will be available to apply for in 2019.
19.
So, this money's already awarded.
Yep, okay.
Peter, if I may, on the grant money from the Green Communities, is that earmarked for existing town enterprises, or,
I don't
No
know, I
idea.
have not been involved in any of that, other than to ask what's left for us to use for this project.
okay, well, I think it's important to I think the Water and Sewer Commission is that it would have been great to have a notice of when this came in at the, what'd you say, $140,000 mark?
Again,
So what I'm,
From
the
what
point
I've
I'm saying
seen,
is,
yeah.
we need this information earlier. From however it comes in, whoever receives it, we need to either send them a letter, send them a note, saying, when you get this, could you please forward us a copy? Because, you know, this number would have been a lot, if in fact it's based on electrical use and things like that. Because, I don't know, other than the schools, I don't know who else uses more electricity in town. Not the police station, not the fire station, not the town hall.
I can't imagine,
Right,
not
yeah.
many users.
Yeah, so,
And I agree, I just, again, I was unaware of the grant
no,
until
no,
we started
right,
moving
I'm just,
forward,
okay,
so.
but going forward, this is good information that I would think we need to hear earlier.
So I do have an application for National Grid that
Paul needs to sign.
somebody probably needs to sign yes to apply for the financing.
Apply for the-
I just saw Paul's face.
There you go, just, I'm handing it to him.
Actually, I'm sorry, was there a vote taken?
No.
Motion and a second, we haven't voted
Okay.
yet.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments?
Comment, I guess. I know there's a lot of work putting this together, so good job, Pete.
All right, thank you.
Good savings for the town.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. All right, Paul, I believe this is by you. There's a personal guarantee down here.
Wow.
Right.
We made it a little earlier than I expected.
Mallory,
Oh, no.
that's what I'm sticking there.
He needs to look at this.
I'm just gonna reference it.
Oh, you want to pass it around?
I haven't signed it.
Yeah. I don't know, you were showing
Somebody
it to me
signed
then.
this, don't we?
Somewhere down there, yeah. So Peter, this analysis was put together by the people from National Grid?
Both. Ed LaForte worked with the gentleman
Gosh,
from
you
National
put a lot of
Grid
time in
to
this,
work
huh?
through all that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
The gentleman from National Grid came by once, did a quick walkthrough on what we were initially doing. Then he mentioned the different incentives and the grant money, so I asked him to come back, and that's when we did the audit with Ed of the entire building and everything else, and kinda, it's just kinda rolled around a few times, and Ed's been working with, Sean McGuire from National Grid quite a bit to get this stuff finished up, so,
very good.
it's good, yes.
Okay. Superintendent report,
Yes.
number 7.
So we're getting there. As it says, Paul Rodman from Veolia has completed the GIS portion of the I&I study for the sewer system. He's pretty much, whatever has not been GIS mapped previously, he's popped the manholes, followed it, and pretty much has all that data ready to go. So now the next step of the I&I study is to put the flow monitoring devices in for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. Set up a couple of rain gauges, and then with the flow monitoring devices, determine where a lot of the I&I is coming from based on the rainfall. So once this is done, hopefully we'll be able to narrow down the quadrant of where our highest I&I is, and probably have to do a little bit more digging to figure out exactly what it's coming from, but it will shrink our system. I think they said we currently have about 17 miles of sewer line in our system. So that's where that is. My hopes is that with the MVP program we have going on and the grant opportunities there, whatever comes out of this study, we'll be able to apply for grant funding to go ahead and help us offset the cost or do whatever the next step is based from this study.
Which fund is that, Peter?
The Municipal Vulnerability Program, it's based on climate change and to do with, not necessarily, I hate to use the word global warming, but we all realize the climate's changing, right? There's bigger swings in temperature, there's more, so, and trying to deal with that climate change with the drought conditions or the higher floodwaters and how it's affecting our system through this I&I. Hopefully we can apply for funding to take the next step to help us through that process. We are And the reason it works is because we are one of right about 66 communities that received the initial grant to hold a workshop and get our action plan in place, which we've done. So now there's a first round of funding coming up that there's probably only 50 communities that are eligible to apply for because we've done the steps required. So there's a $5 million round of funding coming out that you have to apply by, I think it's May 18th, is it May 10th or May 18th is the deadline. So we're not gonna be ready to apply for that, but there'll be another round coming out in the fall that hopefully from this, we can go ahead and get another bite at the apple and see if we can get some funding for whatever comes out of this or our headworks analysis study.
But if I may, the program is based around the state program for controlling runoff. Is that,
Climate change, it's not just runoff, it's any type of, stormwater is a key part of it, but there's a lot of other areas that if you can apply it to climate change and the adverse effects of it, and trying to just not do a simple repair, but take into account and plan for the future and how climate change is gonna affect that, and work that into your application. It will,
we probably should include the application that we've got probably 9 miles of a 4-lane highway with breakdown lanes in each side to where the water from that highway just dumps off into Charlton with nothing. There's no, there's no catch basins, there's no recharge areas, and I'm talking about the Massachusetts Turnpike. So if anyone needs, or any town needs some funding, it's certainly us, because of the runoff and what we have to live with, whether it be the salt or the molasses. What else do they put down on that road?
Calcium.
Calcium, yeah, and then,
so that's where we're at with that. So hopefully, we'll have that report done within the next 8 to 12 weeks. Once the flow monitoring's done, he'll put his report together and we'll be able to see what they found. And then see what comes out of that for action items. With the construction projects that are about to begin, again, we talked to you guys about creating our own Facebook page, and there wasn't much of an interest there to let the public know what's happening with road closures and adverse effects of what's going on. We've talked to the Charlton Police, and they're willing to let us kind of piggyback their Facebook page if we forward them the information. And there's also a Charlton Civilian Traffic Commission Facebook page. I think it's probably run by the same person, but we'll be able to get our information out to both of those Facebook pages just by sending some emails. So I think it'll be a good tool.
Can also get it to Drew.
Yeah, I think Drew, and again, use our website as well, but, and then
Think we'll-
probably have some signage to noting the Facebook pages to follow to get the information
Even just to post on Charlton events and happenings.
to work.
Yeah. It'll probably reach a lot of people.
So we're following up with that there. As I said before, we have an executed license agreement for the Phillips property to look for the public water supply well, which is good, so, signed the beta agreement, so now hopefully we'll show that we have the funding and get that process moving forward, and hopefully know by the end of summer whether or not those wells will be a possibility or not.
did it give you any indication of when they plan on putting equipment on the property there?
No, I think we, once we get this done, we should probably have a follow-up meeting with DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. We're still waiting for the Army Corps of Engineers to get us their authorization to go over their
Okay,
property to
right.
get here.
And cut
If we-
trees and things like that?
If we have to wait too long for the Army Corps, we can always access the property from a different way. We can ask the landowner if we can access it from a different point.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that way there, we don't have to wait for the Army Corps, but,
Because we don't even need the Army Corps, I
no, it's
guess,
private property,
to do this, it's private property.
yeah.
Okay. But they do have an easement. Well,
It's
we were
just an
doing
easement.
it, there is no easement because we're above the,
We were gonna use the Army Corps' property to get on, we were gonna
Right,
go
right,
over the
yeah.
Army Corps' property to get onto this property.
yeah.
But if we have to wait much longer, we can always ask
Yeah.
the property owner if we can access a
Yeah.
different route.
And they were very seemed to be very accommodating.
They were, he was very, very friendly, very cordial to work with, so it went well. So I met with John Oatley from Veolia to talk to him about what it might look like if we were to go to a consecutive water, just so I could try and get an idea of what our operating cost might be to have someone like Veolia to operate the system for us. I have to get him some follow-up information, and hopefully, well, that will coincide, so that information will be coming about the same time as our water rate study gets done, and kind of have a bunch of information there together, so you'll be able to make a well-informed decision.
I'm trying to remember the engineering company who did the rate study. Back,
Pioneer? Oh,
no, back in 04, 05, 06. Weston and Sampson,
okay,
that's who it was. They did a study,
I'll reach out to them as well.
okay? It should be down there in the file somewhere. I'm pretty sure it was Weston and Sampson.
Okay.
Because that's who we had in the beginning, right, Paul? When we started down North Main Street, was Weston and Sampson Engineering.
Yeah,
Yeah, then they're in Southbridge right now. Well, they work for Southbridge. Or they used to, up to about a year ago, 2 years ago.
They may, I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Again, share that with John and,
no, and I'll meet with Westons, I'll send them a proposal to do our rate study, see if they're interested. So we have a pre-construction meeting on Monday, May 14th at 10 a.m. with Kleinfelder, R.H. White, Charlton Police, Charlton Fire, Charlton Highway, and Southbridge to discuss the Route 169 pump station and installing the tank mixers and SCADA system. So, have a pre-construction conference meeting. The bid has been awarded to R.H. White for those projects. And I believe they're planning on starting that this summer, probably after Memorial Day. So that's the first step of what their plan is for construction, and then as Mr. Lemansky mentioned, we met last week at a meeting here with Kleinfelder and the Board of Selectmen. And as far as the school loop goes, they're not planning to start construction on any portion of that till the fall. And they're still in the process of designing the Bay Path pump station and the Overlook pump station at this time. The rest of the plans are bumped up to 98% complete. They have sent copies of the 98% completion drawings to ourselves, which I have a copy here. Town of Southbridge and Chris McClure for review. They gave us 2 weeks to review and get them comments so they can include them, and then they'll submit to DEP for final approval.
do you have that in a PDF?
I forwarded it to you.
Okay.
It's not in a PDF, it's a hyperlink to go to it because the
Okay.
PDF size is too large.
Okay.
Let me know if you didn't get it, I'll forward it again. But Charlie did send that as an email.
You're going to attend the pre-construction meeting?
So yeah, so it'll be May 14th, which is Monday, 10 a.m. in this, in here.
I believe I'm planning on coming.
Sure. So,
You can only have two.
It's okay.
if you want 3, that's fine, we just have to post it.
Okay.
That's all. So again, if anyone's planning on attending, let me know. And again, this doesn't, it's not a problem to have 3 here, we just have to post so that we don't violate any open meeting law.
You can't? What time is it?
10
10
a.m.
And this is the pre-construction for the entire job, or just the
No.
pump stations and that stuff?
The pump station, the mixers, and the SCADA system.
That's what the pre-construction
Yes.
means for, okay. Rather
Would you have
cynical. I'm just glad they're
do you have
waiting.
to post it by Wednesday, or?
It's
What I'm getting
Monday.
at is as your 48 hours, do
The end of the
weekends count
superintendent's
Thursday,
report,
Friday, and in this
last
case, the
page.
town hall's closed on Friday.
We have to post Thursday,
Okay, so then Friday does count as your time,
yes.
Yes, it does.
okay? But not Saturday and not Sunday.
Never. Or
Okay.
holiday.
Well, yeah, plus the town hall's closed Friday, so we couldn't post on Friday anyway.
Yeah.
So the last thing is, the commitment report is done. You guys signed it already.
Thanks, Jim.
The what report?
The commitment report for
Commitment.
billing.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
bills are gonna be mailed Wednesday.
Nice.
We got everything done, we got Southbridge meter reads in last week, we have them entered. We've sent everything over to Globe on Friday, They're processing and printing the bills now, and they will be mailed Wednesday. So, everything is good to go. They were read on April 3rd, they should be getting mailed on May.
So this would be for the third quarter, which would be January, February, March,
Yes,
which would be, from a usage point of view, it would be one of our lowest quarters, wouldn't it?
yes.
Okay, so looking at the $280,720, using that as a basis, that's putting our income over 1.2, which is good news.
It's almost adequate.
Yeah, well, and I'm taking the lowest quarter
I understand.
versus, I think the highest quarter is gonna be October, November, and December. That's what it usually is, which would be over 300 then. So,
Hopefully. But again, if you look at what we just did for our FY19 budget with anticipated revenues, 1.196 is barely enough to cover costs without a lot of extra stuff in there, so. It's good.
it's good then.
Hopefully.
So I would like to attend on the 14th, and if you are,
Yeah, plan on coming,
then you
I
can.
can.
as long as Sue gives me a reminder.
In bold, with the code.
But it didn't work last time, it was, but,
Oh,
yeah. 6:30 meetings, no, 5:30 in gold.
I'm sorry.
Okay, anything else? Mr.
Somebody in the
Superintendent?
audience, I don't know.
Mayor Coach?
Sure.
Hi, I don't know if I missed you guys talking about this. I am Nicole Morisano and I live at 7 North Sturbridge Road.
Okay.
Did you discuss the-
What I can say is these gentlemen can fill you in,
Yeah,
and I believe you missed it,
oh,
okay, but they can give you some information.
okay,
All right, have a good evening,
thank you.
okay? We're neighbors, but,
Okay,
good luck, and, I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody.
Okay.
Because we're gonna close after this,
Yep.
okay? Put the pen back. Don't wanna take anything that doesn't belong to me.
Don't take the binder home.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good night, Mr. Romansky.
So you would like to tie into the sewer line, I
Yes.
assume?
yes.
Well, the good news is we approved it tonight.
Oh, fabulous.
And I don't know what has to be done, paperwork-wise, before you can actually do that, but as far as I know, you can go down to the sewer plant and start taking out permits or whatever, whoever's gonna do the work.
Okay,
And I don't think there's any, can you think of any reason she can't, Russ, or?
No, earlier we discussed just, really supporting motions that were made in the past to approve the line conditionally upon submission of pressure test and other information that has been submitted at this point in time. So in discussing it with Steve, anyone who would wish to come and tie into that line, it's now available. And they just have to follow the correct procedures
Right.
laid forth by the department.
okay,
So you're good to go.
all right, good news, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thanks for coming.
All right, have a great night.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion about that? All those in-
Bang.
There usually isn't, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
It's like a battle of attrition.